Hello, my darlings, and welcome to day 22 of the 24 Days of Advent Adventure. Today I bring you a short story from Silent Night. This short story is called Snowblind by James Swallow. This is a story about a young man called Stefan Harmsway. He's the son of a global tycoon, Louis Harmsway, the sole owner of Geodyne, one of the largest biochemical engineering and research corporations on Earth. The man, Louis, is worth a fortune. And one day, as he says when I cash in my chips, Stefan will be the new leader of this wonderful biochemical engineering business. Stefan has no interest in his father's business, and he hates his father. His father is a lying, conniving, thieving, backstabbing, evil man who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Stefan knows something about his father, that he is an out-and-out, downright liar. There is a news conference. It's Christmas Eve. And the tree huggers, as he calls it, the environmentalists, as they like to be known, are there protesting, claiming that Geodyne is poisoning the local environment and is killing the rivers by dropping their polluted waste into the rivers and killing the fish and all the animals and poisoning the ground that we, the human beings, need to live on. Louis assures everybody that he and his company have the utmost respect for the environment. Oh, these people, they could be politicians, couldn't they? Oh, we have the utmost respect for everything. Yes, I'm sure you do. Guess what? Mother Nature knows what you're doing, and she's not right happy. Mother Nature's coming after you with both barrels. And Louis, I think you're just about to cash your chips in, son. Winter bites with vengeance. And if Mother Nature sees that her earth, her beloved earth, is dying, she will fight back. I'll just read you a small section of the book. As he waited in the chill evening air, Stefan Harmsway rocked back and forwards on his heels, watching the breath make little pops of vapour as it escaped his mouth. He wriggled his toes inside the expensive socks and handmade Italian shoes that surrounded them. He clenched and unclenched his hands deep within the folds of his jacket's thermal pockets. The bite of frost that had grown with the sunset a few hours ago tickled his cheekbones along with the frame of his glasses and made his face cherry red. It was the only bare skin visible. His small countenance and dark, perfectly cut hair peeking out of the top of the grey, heavy, tailor-made greatcoat. His eyes ranged over the small open plaza around him, the skeletal trees in ornamental planters, the vast wall of glass that was the entrance to the production plant, and the parking lot, still half full with snow-dusted vehicles. Even on Christmas Eve, his father was still working his staff, keeping them at their stations while the rest of the world was heading home. Stefan kicked at the ground. He was unsettled and tense. It was a condition he seemed to spend most of his life in. 14 years old and constantly on edge, self-absorbed to the point of total disinterest in the things around him. Nothing seemed to hold his attention for long. No amusements or diversions kept him focused for more than a few days, a week or two at the most. He was constantly weary, uncomfortable in the life he found himself in for reasons he did not understand. Stefan knew something was wrong with his life, but what it was escaped him. But nothing was more alien to him than his father's work. Despite the fact that Louis Harmsway was the sole owner and CEO of Geodyne, one of the largest biochemical engineering and research corporations on Earth, despite the fact that Daddy's company earned billions of pounds every hour, despite the fact that it paid for all of Stefan's expensive lifestyle, the boy had zero interest in it. For Stefan, the idea that there would always be money for everything was that he ever wanted was like gravity. It was a force of nature, something that was much a part of his world as breathing. He never once questioned if he was entitled to such an opulent life. It would have never occurred to Stefan that it wasn't. That something might have been wrong with his rooms full of expensive clothes and gadgets, used once and forgotten, while other people struggled just to find enough money to live. The Harmsway family was very rich. That was just the way it was in Stefan's world. And yet there were moments, just fleeting ones to be sure, when something deep in Stefan's inner self rang a wrong note, warned him that things were not right, unbalanced, incorrect. But that was an easy thing to silence when you never wanted for anything. Behind him Doyle cleared his throat, and the boy gave him a sideways glance over his wire-rimmed spectacles. The bearded bodyguard was a thick, stocky figure, and to Stefan he always seemed like an overstuffed doll, as if someone had taken the body of a man and then packed half as much again into it, creating sturdy arms, wide as tree trunks, and a fat neck that made his bald head look like a bullet. Doyle never said very much. He was a man of actions and few words, never more than an arm's length away from Stefan whenever the boy left the family home. The big man indicated the glass doors with a tilt of his head. Louis Harmsway was crossing the reception area towards them, with a gaggle of suited men bearing brief cases, some chattering into cell phones, and others offering his father sheets of paper to examine. On the trip to Rome, when he was 8, Stefan's tutor had taken him to a museum of the Roman Empire and showed him statues of ancient generals who conquered the great swathes of the globe. His father looked like those men, arrogant and purposeful, striding out of the doors and across the icy plaza like a victorious centurion. "Stefan!" Louis Harmsway's voice cut through the air like a scalpel, and the boy curled his lip in reply. "Come here!" his father added. He obeyed. He always did, but the older he got, the longer he took to do it. Doyle followed discreetly behind him, like a giant shadow hovering just at the edge of his vision. "Try to smile this time," Louis said, silencing the men around him. "It looks much better for the audience." Stefan resisted the urge to put on a broad, lunatic grin, and just nodded, watching his father. His parent studied him for a moment, as if he was fixing his demand in the boy's head with the hard stare, and turned away to look over his shoulder. "Here they come," one of the other men said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Sir, if you can remember not to discuss. I know what to say, Harmsway barked, and for a second Stephen saw his father's inner face, revealed his anger and annoyance at having to take part in this little performance. Stephen turned to watch the approaching group of figures. Geodine's security guards and an attractive corporate public relations expert were escorting a local newspaper, a reporter and his cameraman, along with an older man who seemed very ill at ease. Beyond them, at the production plant's gates, he could glimpse the shifting shapes of a few dozen people, waving banners and placards. The light snow that had been steadily falling all day seemed to glow with their torchlight, framing them in a halo. The camera's powerful flood lamp clicked on, and suddenly Stephen and his father were in full glare of the lens. He chanced to look up at his parent, put a steadying hand on his shoulder, smiling warmly. The boy felt a chill at the touch. The reporter wasted no time. Mr. Harmsway, I'm Gareth Hicks with the BBC. How do you react to the claims by local residents that your plant is releasing toxic material into the water table? Louis feigned surprise. I am shocked by these allegations. Geodine has the utmost respect for the environment. But research indicates that local wildlife has been severely affected by. Stephen watched his father turn the full force of his charisma on the viewers at home. With a winning smile, Gareth, I live in this part of the world, just a few miles from here with my son. He patted Stephen for emphasis. How could I allow my company to pollute a place that I call home, a place where my family live? The older man spoke. He had the manner of a schoolteacher. Surveys taken by the University Nature Watch program have clearly shown a massive drop in animal populations since the opening of this place. He waved at the plant building angrily. You are responsible, sir. You're pouring poison into the rivers. Louis changed tack. His voice took on a hurt tone. I would never allow something like that to happen at Geodine. Our corporation is working towards a better future for our children. And he squeezed Stefan again, because they are our most precious resource. He shook his head as if he felt sorry for the older man. I would have been spending this Christmas evening at home with my son, but we have been forced to come here tonight to hear your comments, and now my boy has to listen to these wild claims. Stefan's father gently pushed him in the small of the back, and with that he knew that his role in the little act for the TV cameras was over. As he stepped away, he heard the older man's words ring out. You play the family man, but you are only concerned with profits. The public relations woman guided him away from the group of people towards a waiting limousine with Doyle in tow. That went perfectly, she simpered. You really did well there, young man. Stefan said nothing. This was not the first time he'd been a prop for his dad's television appearances, acting the role of the good son in the right place at the right time to make his father seem like a kindly, loving parent. In all honesty, these pre-scripted photo opportunities were among the few times they spent in each other's company, but that was just fine for Stephen. Since his mother had died, the boy had found that life alone was vastly preferable to being part of his father's ruthless corporate world. Doyle opened the car door and he stepped inside. "Home," he said. They passed the knot of people, and Stephen saw a brief glimpse of his father lit by the spot lamp, his eyes hard as diamonds. Then they were through the production plant's gates and onto the road. He saw the demonstrators, people whose faces had a mix of sadness, of anger, and determination, their banners warning about the dangers of abusing the earth and dumping toxins into the food chain, even though he knew they couldn't see him through the tinted windows of the limo. They stared back at him with loathing, and in that instant Stephen felt a bolt of ice in his chest, a sudden clear understanding of them. These people, he realized, they hate me because my name is Harmsway. Because of the company, they hate us so much that they would sacrifice the one night of the year they should be with their family just to prove it. And as that cold little idea took root in Stephen's mind, a woman with grey eyes like chips of ice and skin pale as milk put down her placard and walked after the limousine with steady and deliberate steps. Where her feet fell, patches of frost marked the ground like blooms of white petals. The road was invisible beneath a patina of ice, and that reflected the sodium flare of the limo's headlights, and Doyle worked hard to keep the long car from fishtailing as it took the corners along the country road. In good weather, the plant was less than an hour's drive from the impressive stone mansion the Harmsway family used as their English residence. But in the grip of winter, the journey was difficult. Doyle had the windscreen wipers flashing back and forth across his vision, fighting to clear the glass of the snowflakes that seemed to swarm towards it. The bodyguard grimaced and pumped the brakes as the vehicle pulled the wrong way, drifting dangerously close to an embankment as he made another turn. On a night like this, every one of these winding back roads seemed identical to each other, with what signs there were made unreadable by rhymes of ice and snow. Doyle took another corner and cursed under his breath. He'd driven this route a dozen times, so how could he be lost? He changed gear, and the limousine reacted poorly as ice began to build up around the tires, and the internal heater labored to produce warm air. Defying possibility, temperatures as cold as the Arctic began to form around the car. As a bubble of sub-zero air enveloped it, chilling the metal framework in seconds, the bearings in the wheel hubs began to lock together as grease and oil fused into waxy clots of ice, and the engine coughed and choked. Doyle's eyes widened as fans of the frost reached out across the glass windscreen, freezing out any vision of the road ahead. Something rose up in the white brilliance of the headlights, and he reflectively jerked the steering wheel aside to avoid it. For a heartbeat, the bodyguard saw an ashen-faced woman with cold eyes. Then the limousine was skidding out of control, the wheel turning beneath the car, flipping it as it hit the lip of a ditch, and tumbling, coming to rest upside down in the darkness. Won't spoil the ending for you, darlings, but Mother Nature will have her revenge, and she will take the souls of the people who are causing her harm. Wow, what an absolutely powerful eco story that was. A very beautiful, very short, only about 10 pages long. It's called Snowblind, and it's by James Swallow. I'll tell you when that one was done. 2002, when I was 26, and my daughter was 22 years old now. I think it's a lovely, very timely little story, suited for the age we live in now. Indeed. Well, my darlings, I hope you enjoyed day 22 of the 24 days of Advent Adventure. 2 more days to go. Christmas will soon be with us. Well, my darlings, I'll say what I always do. If you like what I do, you can give me a thumbs up. If you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow. And come back tomorrow for day 23 and goodness knows what. Take care, my darlings, and happy readings and enjoy. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.